So this particular topic is a very important one, which is teaching English as a second language and who exactly can occupy such a role. This is a question I get a lot, especially from non-natives, and they ask me a lot. So let's talk about this particular thing for today. Let's take it from the top. Well, I'm going to talk about 5 things for today. The first thing I'm going to talk about are qualifications. The second thing, I'm going to talk about what exactly this nativity thing is. I'm going to talk about what the schools look out for, or what is it that is the outlook on this whole thing. And I'm going to talk about in and out of China, whether it's difficult or easy, based on your location. And I'm going to talk also about what to do, whether you can use agencies or how exactly you should go about this if you want to teach English as a second language in China. So, first things first, qualifications. According to the government of China, first of all, you need to be a native speaker. So, being a native speaker being a native speaker technically actually means that you are someone who has been speaking the language from your childhood and you have a really good grasp on the particular language. So technically, native speaking doesn't refer to certain countries, but certain countries are known for certain languages and therefore implies that most of the people from that particular country have a good grasp on that language. So for instance, in getting a job as an English teacher, you are supposed to be a native speaker from England, from USA, from Canada, from Ireland, from New Zealand, from Australia, or from South Africa, because it is known that these particular countries actually speak English and it is the main language of instruction in that country. And most of them have spoken from the childhood. They have a good grasp on grammar, on a whole lot of other things. I don't want to talk about accents and all that in this video because I'm going to make another video talking about accents. And if you would know, accents just has to do with sound. So I'm not talking about that for today. So the other thing also when it comes to qualifications is that you're supposed to be someone who holds a bachelor's degree. I think the government has decided that preferably it wants people with bachelor's degree. And so that is it. You can't do anything about it. It has to be it could be any subject, but if it is in a related field, like if you're going to be an English teacher, if it's a degree in education or linguistics or something like that, it's much better. And the last thing is that you need to have some form of accreditation or a certification that shows that you can actually teach English to people who want to learn it as a second language. So this could be a TESOL certificate, this could be a TEFL certificate or CELTA or anything like that. So these are the basically 3 or 4 things. So number 1 would be your nationality or whether you're a native speaker. I'm connecting the two, but I'm going to talk about nativity in the second point. So nationality, you need to be from these 7 countries. The next is that you need to have a bachelor's degree or higher. And then finally, you have to have an accreditation. You need to have some form of certification that shows that you can teach English. Getting on to the next point that I want to talk about is this nativity thing. Nativity, however you pronounce it. Accents and a way of saying things. I don't want to go into that again in this video. So as I was talking about it before, nativity is actually a thing that has to do with whether you've been speaking the language from childhood. Nativity doesn't necessarily have to do with a country. It has to do with your grasp and how long you have been speaking that language. So if you look at what the definition of a native speaker is, it actually doesn't mention country. It actually talks about someone who has been speaking the language from their childhood and therefore they have a good grasp on the language. So for instance, going just by the definition of nativity of what a native speaker is, I would say I'm a native speaker of the English language. Why? Because I could even read newspapers in English by the time I was 6 years old. English has been the language of instruction in my country, which is Ghana, and technically by definition I'm a native speaker. So English is something that I spoke English at home, I spoke English at school, I spoke English with my friends. So technically, by definition, I'm a native speaker. But this is where nationality comes in, and it is that it is believed that this particular language, English, and they can trust that certain people in particular countries can, there's that kind of confidence that yes, if they're from that country, then it is guaranteed. There's a higher chance that hey, they have a good grasp on the language. So, for instance, if you find a country like Ghana, which is technically a native speaking country, but you might not have that assurance that, okay, this person can speak it really well because there are other languages also in Ghana and there isn't that assurance. So that is where the issue comes in. So the decision is that, okay, we know that when a child is growing up in America, when a child is growing up in England, when a child is growing up in some particular countries, in Australia, in Ireland, in New Zealand, in South Africa, right from childhood, we know. Even South Africa I don't want to talk about all of that, but the whole issue is that, we know that this person has been speaking English right from childhood. So it is all about assurance and being sure that they can. And again, I'll talk about accents in another video. I'm actually working on a script and doing some research to give you really good information on the issue of accents. So we are going to talk about that in another video. Let's move on to the schools. So in recent times, I've been following up on one of the schools in China. It is a school which has a lot of English foreigners. I can actually count at least 12 or more English teachers in one school. And when I look at majority of them and what it is like in that particular school and that environment, well, the schools have a certain pedigree that they want to sell out. They have a particular perspective. They have something that they want to project. So besides, I don't want to talk about whether this is discrimination or not. That is not what this video is about. So from a business perspective, this is something that the schools actually have in mind. So for instance, if they're gonna sell someone who is like, hey, I got a thing to do, accents, okay? I don't want to talk about accents in this video, but the whole idea, first of all, putting aside the qualifications and all that, the schools also, it's a business for them, and also they know, or the thing they feel, we want to sell to parents in a particular way. So I'd rather have someone who is speaking to the parents like, hey, let's go out, can we all go out and play in the garden? As compared to, can we all go out and play in the garden? Like there is a particular mindset about that I don't want to talk a lot about, because when you begin to delve deeply into this, then it sounds a little bit like discrimination, which is a gray area. But so basically, in terms of the schools have a particular mindset. They have something that they want to project, and they go by that. Actually, there are schools who have people who are non-natives, who are really qualified for the job in terms of, in the sense that they can actually speak, they can actually teach. Besides the whole issue of the 7 countries and where they are from, which also is something that most of the people who contact me, this is the kind of qualification they have, which is that they are qualified, they know they can teach, they know they have a good grasp on the language. Besides the whole country and nationality thing, they know that they can actually do a good job in teaching English as a second language. So that is it with the schools. Now, whether you are in China or out of China, first of all, when you're outside of China, it's going to be significantly more difficult for you to get a job teaching English as a second language. Well, whether you are a native speaker or even a non-native speaker, when you are outside of China right now, the chances of you getting a job in China right now are slimmer. Well, there are many reasons. One, it's not easier for the schools to convince um, the government to get a work permit for someone who is out of China right now, even bringing the person into China. So a lot of the schools, a lot of the people who are advertising want someone who is already in China. I don't know what I can do about this, which is most likely nothing. But to hope that something will change and things become better. Next, what to do. So there are agencies that actually recruit people to teach English in China. Whether you're in China or outside of China, what you can do is to take your chances with some of these agencies. You can go online and you can search. There are a lot of them you can find if you Google it. So just go to Google and search teaching English in China. You can find or jobs teaching English jobs in China, and you would find a lot of options. So, in summary, one, there are qualifications, which is that you should be someone who is a native speaker. You should be from certain nationalities, that's 7 of them. You should be someone who has a bachelor's degree or higher, and also you should be someone who has a certification in English, whether it's TEFL, TESOL, CELTA, or anything like that. The next thing that I've talked about is nativity, which is, well, being a native speaker technically isn't about country. It's about how long you've been speaking the language and how much of a grasp you have on the language. The next is the schools. The schools sometimes do this for business purposes. They may or may not accept someone based on their personal pedigree or what it is that they project or what it is that they wish to sell to parents, because in the end, this is certainly a business. The next is whether you are in China or outside of China. When you're in China, it could be much easier, even especially if you're a native. Oh, there are so many jobs. I see lots of jobs every day, and there are people posting and saying thousands of jobs. But then also, you have to be in China first. If you're outside of China, it is more difficult, even if you're a native, and it's even significantly difficult if you're not a native. Now, the next thing is what to do. You can look out for agencies. If you have someone, you can even go on LinkedIn. There are people on LinkedIn who, they are recruiters on LinkedIn that you can check out. So these are the things that I'll leave you with for today. And I'm making another video on accents that I'm going to talk about. What for instance, native speakers don't all sound the same. There are lots and lots and lots of accents. So for instance, I grew up in Ghana where we teach the British curriculum. So for instance, we're going to say zebra. In some countries, they're going to say zebra. There's a whole lot that I'm going to talk about in the next video. And also, we are working on a website that is going to provide a lot of free resources for teachers, such as flashcards, such as crafts, such as videos explaining the processes in teaching and all that. So when it's ready, we'll let you know. Thank you for watching this one. I'll see you in the next one. If you have any comments, do leave them down below. Remember to subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. Love and peace.